I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's up, Mysonne Linda? How you doing today?
I'm blessed and highly favored, Tamika Mallory. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm still sort of on vacation. I am one of those people who takes the week after the holiday just to make sure that I get a moment to catch my breath because it's straight out the gate. New Year's, people think you're just supposed to and that I learned a long time ago is not a good process for me. I need the week to get organized, just to start thinking about what I have to do, what I need to accomplish. And then I could get back into it. So I will not be talking to people for the most part until Monday coming.
Okay, well,
Now you are one of those
you
people
have
that's the
you have
complete
a luxury.
opposite.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
I
please.
feel like I just feel like, especially in the beginning of the year, that it's a new opportunity, it's new energy, and I like to hit the ground running because I feel like it's a lot of people that they made their New Year's resolutions and they outside and they trying to do all this stuff, and I think it comes from prison, right? Being incarcerated when you can't do things and you watching time go by and you see people and things moving and growing and you feel stagnated and you never want to have that feeling ever again. So I take full advantage of every opportunity and freedom. So especially New Year's for me is a time of like rebirth, revitalization, re-energizing, and I have ideas that I just want to get done. And I feel like the more
Right.
time a lot of people procrastinate. They say procrastination is the enemy of success. So I hate feeling like I'm procrastinating or I'm not doing things. So that's just a
Yeah,
phobia I
I
deal
don't,
with.
I wouldn't consider it to be procrastination to take time to when it's quiet because during the holiday season, it's not really that quiet. There's stuff happening, there's events, there's people, and you might be processing what you want to do, but you're still moving, moving, and moving. I feel like this week for me is a time to reset my body so that when I step into it all next week, I'm fully present and not feeling tired from the leftover of a festive holiday season. Everybody's at home. My granddaughter's running from zip right from one side of the house to the other. She needs to be in the Usain Bolt school of running because she is definitely going to be a track star. So you got all of that going on, people cooking food, people bringing gifts, people doing things. And I don't know where it is that you find quiet time and peace. But I do understand your point is you have had moments in your life where it's just been nothing but quiet time, nothing but sitting still with your thoughts. And so, it's something to think about that each one of us has our own experience and then that's what makes people um I think that's kind of like the yin and yang of all relationships is that all of us have different things that we're experiencing and we bring those things to the table. So, thinking about Linda, she's ready to work during Christmas because that's not her holiday season. You know what I'm saying? So, so she's like, what you doing? You want to talk about this? You want to? No, I can't because I'm Christian. She's Muslim. So it's the yin and yang, but it does make people slow down, and sometimes it makes people hasten. So, anywho, that's the deal. Obviously, the flu season. I've been talking about it a little bit. I saw that a couple people reposted my comments on big platforms, which wasn't my goal. And I always have to remind myself that everything that I say, it just kind of if it moves, it moves. Um, and people were posting, or no, what I stated was that we don't have a federal government with people who actually have good sense. And so, as a result of that, there's this flu, this super flu that's moving around, and you don't see enough conversation about it coming from the podium, coming from inside the White House, coming from the head of the Health and Human Services Department, which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is leader of. And I tell you, when they were campaigning, when Trump was campaigning and Robert F. Kennedy was being, looked at for, he was in the mix after he dropped out. I think it was after he dropped out. And his entire family wrote a letter saying, this is a bad idea, or for him to have any role at all. He should not be working for the administration. They may have said, don't vote for him for president. So actually, he hadn't dropped out yet, because I think they were saying, don't vote for him for president. I know a lot of people with a lot of messed up families, but I don't know people that the whole family gets together to write an official letter with their name signed, sealed on it, saying, do not vote for this person. Do not entertain this person for these serious positions. I just don't know anybody I don't know people's families that do that. Everybody at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. Speaking of the flu, I lost a really good friend, like a brother, the last couple of days. It's been a little rough. So that's another thing that's had me really just working, because, when I'm sitting down with my thoughts, it frustrates me. My man Charles, C-Rock, Charlie, was one a real close friend of mine that I've seen pretty much like 2-3 times a week, come just knock on my door, go on my refrigerator. Was a godfather to my son, treated my son like he was his son, treated all of my sons with love. And, he was somebody that was real close to me, consistent, authentic. You never had to really question his loyalty or his friendship. He would tell you when you did something he didn't like. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those friends that didn't just tell you what you wanted to hear all the time, and he was somebody that I valued. Like, he was somebody I really valued. He lost his life. He caught the flu, which metastasized into pneumonia. A lot of us as black men, we don't go to the hospital quick enough. He already had pre-existing health conditions. He was diabetic with high blood pressure. And you try to fight it. Black men, we always try to fight every sickness and say we just gonna rest. We just need a little rest. And a lot of times we don't even rest because we're trying to figure out how we gonna survive. And he was one of them dudes that's every day trying to figure out how he gonna survive. He never wanted to be broke. He would make sure he's getting to some dollars. So he never sat down. And we caught up to him to the day he went to the hospital. They immediately started to operate and do things on him. All his organs failed. It was a real tragic thing, and I wasn't able, because I'm out of town working. I wasn't able to even be there for him. I didn't get to go to the hospital. Fortunately, my son and his mother went and saw him. But that's been real tough for me, man. Just somebody that I grew up with since I was 9, 10 years old. That the same way he walked into my house, he would walk into my grandmother's house. He was family. He would walk into my mother's house the same way, go in the refrigerator, get something to eat and drink. It's just, you realize that, you don't know how much time you have. I just was with him like a week ago. So, and you don't think he not going to come back. I'm expecting him to ring the buzzer while I'm in the bed sleep. And he just walk in the house like it's his, and that's not going to happen again. So I just want to send out my condolences to his family, and all our friends. We all grew up with each other. It's a shock to everybody, what I'm saying, that C-Rock is gone. But I just want him to know that we love him, and I'm carrying on. And just based on that, my New Year's, not resolution, my New Year's dedication is to my health. Is making sure that I'm in shape, that I'm healthy, I'm eating properly, that I'm getting proper checkups. As black men, we do not do that enough. And I don't want us.
You do. You go to the doctor.
Yes, I do. I do now. I got a lot better in the last few years, because before I just felt like I was Superman and everything. It's always going to be okay. But I think I'm a lot more intentional about that. And I just want us as black men, especially when we're in our age, when you reaching 50, and you're close to 50 and you in your upper 40s, you got to be very intentional about your health. I don't care how much money you got. If your health is not up to par, you ain't going to live to spend it. So we got to be a lot more intentional about our health. So
Hmm.
that's one thing that I made a definite, note to self. That is, even though, because I'm very health conscious now, but I want to be way more health conscious. I want to be at the weight
Hmm.
I want to be. I want to feel healthy. I want to eat proper things. So that's a thing that I dedicate to him because, a lot of times you don't see the reason for certain people losing their life. And it's not saying that's the reason, but I know to me, just understanding that he lost his life and it was basically due to pre-existing health conditions. A lot of us
Hmm.
as black men, we get diabetes, and I was diagnosed with high blood pressure before. So I want to be very much intentional about making sure that I'm here and I'm surviving and I'm thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. And God bless C-Rock on his journey to the other side. He was a good guy. Every time I've encountered him, it has been nothing but peace. And I think the thing that's amazing is when you meet people and the same way you meet them the first day, 5 years, 7 years, whatever years later, they're still the same, always the same energy. And it's really, really sad, really, really shocking. And my heart just goes out to all of you who have been close, really, really close to him for a long time. And, it's funny because people who have just been at events that we've done or they've met him, encountered him, they're like, wait a minute, like why, like nobody, people are trying to figure out like how does he pass away. And I'm telling you, I know people that have all kinds of other things going on. They using severe drugs. They just got issues, and honey, they living like nothing is happening. They just living, and God bless them. I hope that they live until, forever, until. And then it's people, good, solid people like C Rock that don't have the same, that are not as fortunate. And as you said, oftentimes it has to do with how we take care of ourselves every day. So, God bless. I think it's a message to all of us to just make sure that it's going back to the original point of why I brought this up. You don't have a government that will properly inform you um, of the current status of these different diseases, airborne issues, viruses, and all of that. And we know because if you remember during the first Trump presidency, they knew they knew about COVID. They knew in December 2 people had died. It may have even been more, but I know it was a report of 2 people that we learned about later. They knew about all of this. They were being kept up to speed, or what do you call it? They were receiving briefings about viruses, a virus that had traveled here from, I don't, I anyway, they had been made aware of a virus that had traveled here, and they knew, and they didn't tell us anything after 2 people died. And again, it could have been more, but I know for sure that it was a report of 2 people who died. They didn't tell us anything for several months. That's from December until March. We didn't have a shutdown. They never really wanted you to wear masks. People say masks are terrible and all of that, but I know that folks in Asia and other places have been wearing masks. I was watching this guy in a video. He was Asian, and he said we were wearing masks before COVID. Like that is something
Only that
that's
was the
just
thing that I'd always seen them do, and I never really knew because it wasn't something that was part of our culture here in the U.S. But I've
right.
always seen like videos of when you see them traveling through, walking through the communities, you see them wearing masks.
Yeah, and I understand for a lot of people it's like it's recycled air. No one is saying that you should be wearing masks every second of the day. But when viruses rise at this level, you have to protect yourself, especially if you are somebody who has a weak immune system because of other issues. But you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to know that if you don't hear from your elected officials, from your government, or, yeah, your government. Hey, there's a problem here. If you have diabetes, heart condition. My cousin, same thing, has a serious heart condition. And guess what? The pacemaker went off, which alerted him that the flu he was already dealing with had something else was going on. And to your point, it metastasized to pneumonia. So there's clearly something happening, and I'm not saying that it's not just a bad flu. I'm not over here with the conspiracy that, oh, this is some, big pandemic style sickness that is going to kill thousands and thousands and thousands of people the same way that we saw with COVID. I'm not even there. I'm just saying that the flu is really aggressive and we need people to be informed, so someone like C Rock would know, you know what, I'm not feeling really well, and I have these other things going on. I need to get to a doctor right away. Instead, because there's no alert, there's nobody talking about it, you would think that, okay, I'm just gonna fight it off. And this is
Yeah.
actually not something that you should try to fight off. You actually need to go see somebody, especially if you have other issues. Children are dying. I mean, it's really, really serious. So now what we have to do, and we talk about this on the show all the time, we have to inform our people of everything all the time, because we cannot have any expectation that not just this government, but any government, we cannot just rely on information from the podium. We have to rely on information sharing within our community and make sure that, first of all, we're taking care of ourselves, because really the way they cutting health insurance, the way that they are increasing premiums, all of the stuff that's happening, people are not even going to be able to rely on the medical system, which we already have not been able to be reliant on a strong healthcare system. And so that is even becoming weakened, and it's becoming less available to us based upon the stuff that's happening with this government. So we're in a real serious situation here. And sometimes I really feel like people don't either believe us, or they don't know, or whatever, because it just feels like folks are not as focused as we need people to be in order for us to be able to take care of one another. And I understand that most people learn through crisis. That's just the nature, because as you're working, you getting the kids to the school, you dealing with all these different things, you don't have time to sit in constant shit every day, every minute, learning about a new crisis, a new thing that you don't even feel you can solve. But the problem for us is that if this system, whenever the system crashes, fails, whatever it does, it crashes on top of our heads. So we are better off if we inform ourselves every day, all the time, and try to get ahead of things that we see coming in our direction. So that's my rant for today. I'm going to keep talking about it. Now I'm in the rabbit
Yeah.
hole. My whole algorithm is on the flu. That's it. That's with
It's
every
called
video.
it's called the influenza A virus, and it's called the subclade K. It's a new genetic
Yeah.
variant with the larger subtype. It's not really novel, but it's definitely affecting the immune system, and it spreads very easy. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
rise in hospitalizations. So just be careful, man. Be
Yeah.
careful.
It's definitely highly contagious. Highly contagious. And people got mad at me before when I said stop shaking hands. The black men was on my page like, oh, see, this is breaking down the community because they want you not to touch one another and to start just becoming where we're unable to be in relationship together. And I'm like, are y'all am I crazy, or are you crazy? I'm telling you that people scrub their nose, wipe their ass, do all of the things that they do, and then you out here clapping them up and then wiping your nose. And you telling me that I am trying to disrupt relation among black people? Y'all gotta be kidding me. Gotta
Yeah.
be kidding me.
So
Anywho, I digress. I'm gonna move on. Yes, my algorithm is so much about the flu, and I'm a little bit passionate about this topic. So my thought of the day today, I see. Um, my thought of the day today, something that happened a few weeks before the holidays began. I was working with a group of people on a project, and something happened that I thought one of the individuals was being so rude to other people. And I was watching, me when I'm in spaces, it's not like when I was younger. When I was younger, I would feel intimidated by other people in the room. But now it doesn't really matter what room I'm in. Even if I don't think I know as much, I know enough that I can communicate in 99.9% of conversations, right? Just based upon life experience and common sense. Might not have all of the words to say, the best terminology, but I can pretty much hold my own in any conversation. And so I don't have the same level of intimidation that other people may be experiencing. And I understand it because I used to feel that way. So in this particular space, this individual was, to me, being very rude and stern and just talking to people in a way that I was just like, wow, this is interesting. I can't say it made me feel uncomfortable, but I certainly noticed it and thought to myself, this is like, I'm wondering when someone else is going to say, because they weren't doing it to me, they was doing it to other people. And I'm like wondering, when is someone else going to stop this from happening? Later on, I said to this individual, hey, I just felt like it was really harsh, and I'm not sure how you think you're going to get the best out of what we're trying to accomplish with this particular small group of individuals. I don't know how you do it because it was just you. I just felt like you were being very rude and nasty. And the person said to me, well, I just keep it real. And most people can't deal with or can't accept and understand that I'm a real person. And my thought of the day today is around the idea that a lot of people think that being rude and nasty is keeping it real. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree that talking down to people, right? That treating people like they're beneath you is keeping it real. Because quite frankly, I'm an individual who pretty much, I think I keep it real most times in terms of when I'm having conversations with people about how I feel, about what it is that I need, what my wants and needs are, about what is required in order for me to be in relationship with you or to work on a project together or to do business together. I'm pretty much very forward coming about who I am and what I need in order for this relationship to be successful in any relationship. But I never feel that I need to demean people, to treat people as if I am somehow above them, either because I'm smarter or I have, more information or I've had more access than them. I've never been that person. And I absolutely am not. If I have at any point found myself slipping, I always check myself and ensure that I'm leading with being humble. It doesn't make me perfect, but it definitely is something that I work on every day. And I just want to say to people out there that if you believe or if you are leading with this nasty, vile way of being as keeping it real, you're actually not keeping it real at all. What you're keeping it is nasty and disrespectful. And I just think that we need to have a recalibration of what it means to be assertive, but not to be demeaning or disrespectful to people. And then also challenge yourself to figure out, is it that you just don't know how to communicate? Or perhaps you're the one who's got all the education. And by the way, this is a very educated individual. The individual
Hmm.
that I'm speaking of is somebody who knows a lot, right? And sometimes people think that because they know so much, that it means that you're automatically confident. But what I'm finding is that there are a lot of people out here who are um who are very knowledgeable and lacking of confidence, so much so that the only way they know how to communicate is to be nasty and disrespectful.
And that's a very good point. Real is not rude, and if you're intentionally saying things to insult people because and you think that's being rude, if you're saying things that is going to affect somebody that you say that you value or that you're trying to work with, and you're saying things that is going to hurt their feelings or demean them, that's not leadership at all. It's not even partnership, right? What you're doing is you're creating an enemy. You're creating something, because a person told me one time, that was one of the realest things I ever heard. People forget a lot of things, but they never forget how you make them feel, right? And when you're talking to somebody, you're talking
Mm-hmm.
down to an
Mm-hmm.
individual, they never forget that. They hold on to these things, and you
That's
have a
right.
lot of scorned individuals who have been verbally abused, who have been taught to demean themselves, who shrink themselves because they had leadership or partnership that made them feel like they wasn't worthy. I never walk into any space, and like I hate people who do that. I find myself at odds. Like I probably could not have been on that call, right? Because I would have immediately been like, whoa, whoa, you need to calm down, because I know a lot of
Mm.
people who don't have the courage or the bravery to speak up in those situations. But I hate to see so-called leadership like that. I hate people who think because they have some level of status or they've learned something more than someone else to speak down to them. It's some level of, you know, um, actual leadership or keeping it real. I think that's one of the worst things you can do as an individual, is try to demean someone else, especially when you are aware that they might not have the knowledge or the understanding that
Mm.
you have. I think when we are given knowledge, when God blesses us with the ability to discern in situations that others haven't, it is not to utilize it against them. It is to help them grow, right? Whatever knowledge we give, we're supposed to pass on. So I definitely mirror your sentiment. I never like to see anyone rude and disrespectful to anyone, especially when you work. Because the reality is, what is your goal, right? If we have a team, and I want to get the best out of my team, my whole goal should be to empower them, right? To inform them, to make them feel like
Absolutely.
they're strong in every space that they step into. So if I'm taking away that, then I'm not actually a good leader, and I'm not actually a good, like, when you look at sports, when you have a coach who loses the locker room, where I don't care how good a coach is, once you lose the players and they feel like you're not for them, you don't understand them, you're speaking down to them, then you lose the locker room. The team no longer flourishes. When you have a coach who you watch and you see the camaraderie with the coach and the players, you see that team actually flourish. So there's a proven motto that when you have someone who speaks life into you instead of taking it out of you, you actually win. So I definitely agree
Hmm.
with you.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, a lot of times people feel like, oh, a lot of people have said this thing about me, but it's just simply not true. And sometimes that's real, that there's an impression of you because one person says it and then 10 people pick it up, and next thing you know, it just becomes a narrative about you, right? Like, I remember being accused of sleeping with a very powerful person in order to get a position. And it was like a viral story, and it wasn't true. Like, it never happened. Well, that's that. You said something that's so good. It's like a quick phrase: real is not rude. So that sums it all up. Let's talk about the TMI when you talk about rudeness. Lord have mercy. Our TMI, is it too much or not enough? And guess what? I'm not getting into a back and forth debate with anybody about what a woman should or should not wear. That is never, I promise you, the one conversation that I'm not about to engage in is, oh, Dr. Karri Bryant should not have worn this or that and the third. Everybody, I just, I don't, she could have had on nothing. And I might not like it. Me personally, I might look and be like, ew. But I don't even have enough time in my life on the 24 hours that God has granted me. I don't have enough time to sit and analyze the attire of anybody. That's just not something that I am invested in. But what I am invested in is this idea that we have the well, let me say it this way. Who makes the determination of what is appropriate attire for a first lady? Where is that? Because sure, I'm told by people, and this is Dressgate for people who don't know. We've been in Dressgate for the last several weeks. And by the way, I saw it when it first started and just knew that by now it would have wrapped up. And instead, it's made it to national TV shows. This dress is everywhere. Everywhere you could think of, people are talking about this damn dress and what Dr. Karri Bryant wore, not in the pulpit, but to an event, which I will say 100%, she looked phenomenal, phenomenal. But again, you or some other person might say, didn't like it. That's fine. But how we get into a 3 to 4, almost going to 4 weeks or 3 weeks and some change dialogue about attire, I'm trying to figure out where it says that. Where does it say? Is there a book or something? And I'm literally asking the question. Is there a book that lays out exactly what a woman is supposed to have on, what she's supposed to wear, or a man for that reason, for that matter? They say, well, it talks about modesty and it talks about not enticing a man or enticing other people. And I guess I hear you, but I'm just wondering, is enticing only what you wear? Or are women enticing in other ways that has absolutely nothing to do? You could be fully clothed and still doing and being things that are considered to be enticing to a man. I'm just trying to figure out where we are because I'm a little confused.
Well, I'm not the biggest religious person. You know, I believe in God. You know, I'll go to churches. Shout out to Reverend Jamal Bryant. I go to his church. I've been to Willie Wilson's church. I go to the mosque. You know, I'm more of a spiritual individual, and that's the reason why I don't, you know, prescribe to religion because there's too many
Subscribe, subscribe,
subscribe.
ascribe, ascribe,
Ascribe.
ascribe.
It's
But we
ascribe.
kind of went through this because remember we read you could say subscribe, but
Exactly. You can say
ascribe.
subscribe, ascribe. Okay. Well, I don't subscribe to religion because I don't like, I don't subscribe or ascribe to religion because I don't like these things, these pigeonholes that are put on you, that you have to say things a certain way, you have to be a certain way. And I think when you look at religion, you look at the different sects of religion, people have removed certain things because it fits them better, right? And I think for me, if I was going to a church, I want to go to a church where the pastor and the first lady fit who I am. They're comfortable within who they are. If that's the dress that you wear, you're comfortable wearing. If that's the way that you communicate in the confines of your own home, I want to feel like I'm seen because I want my woman to wear a dress like that. I want to be around people that think like that. I want my pastor to be relatable to me. I don't want to think you're this perfect person that lives exactly by some scripture that was written thousands of years ago that people, you know, that's how they felt they needed to. I want to feel like you represent me. So that's the congregation I would be a part of, you know, and I think that's what people need to understand. Maybe this, like Reverend Jamal spoke about it. He spoke up for his wife and he said, if the church you're looking for is the woman that needs to look like Joan Cleaver or Little House on the Prairie, and she's gonna dress. But this is the woman that I wanted. This is the woman that I prayed for. I went out and brought this dress for my wife that she liked, that I liked for me, and it's supposed to be for me. And that is the mentality that I have. And I think people who have that mentality should follow Dr. Bryant, right, and go to his church. I think people who don't, and you don't go to that church, I think your opinion is your opinion, but it really doesn't matter. I tell people all the time, your opinion only matters to me if you matter to me. So you're welcome to have an opinion, and it's cool. But when you talk about what this Pastor Wooden said about him presenting her like a $2 whore, like, to me, now you might get hit in your mouth. And that's another reason why I don't want to subscribe, because I don't want taking you getting hit in the mouth for disrespecting me and my wife taken off the table. I don't want you to think because I'm a pastor or I go to a church and all these things that you can disrespect me and put my wife in the realm of a hoe at all. The fact that you would put some man's wife in the verbiage of that man's wife and a hoe in the same sentence is something that may get you hit in the mouth. And I think we just got too comfortable with social media, with the world, where people think that their opinion, right? They can vocalize their opinion without there being consequences. You can't call no man's wife a hoe. You just can't. You can't even say that
He gonna say
presented.
he ain't call
You can't even use that terminology
absolutely not.
in a sentence with
Absolutely.
a man's wife. It's just no, like, we've just gone too far, and there are people who think that they can, and you can talk about somebody, but there's consequences for that. And the thing is, if it might not be consequences in right now, Reverend Brian might say, that's not something he wants, but there are people who not going to take it, and you're going to step into a karma in a situation to where it's going to be consequences. I hate to see those things, but I don't know why people got so comfortable just disrespecting and speaking about people and their loved ones. And man got up there and told you. He said this before this man says, he got on the stage and said, you can say what you want about me, but you're not gonna play with my wife. Like, that's what he made that clear. So for you to continue on, even if you said you don't like the dress, I don't think it was appropriate, people are gonna take that opinion, cool. But when you start using the word hoe in reference to anything that has to do with a man's wife, people is out of line. That's TMI for me. That's way too much. And I'm not even mad if forget it. I'm not even saying nothing else.
Well, I don't know, but I just, I look around and I just think to myself that there are people out here who really are holier than thou about everything other than their own lives. And that's pastors too. Pastors, other first ladies. I've been really floored. And I love that someone took Trump's face and put it on the dress and said, can we see if maybe this dress on the real problem in life, right? If that
To
will
get some
help us to
attention. Yeah.
focus on these issues, because we're spending a great deal of time dealing with what a woman wore. And I'm going to tell you, there are some people who don't want Muslims to wear hijab. That's the most modest of any modesty. And they
Mm-hmm.
want to make women take the hijab off, right? There are some churches that won't allow women to become pastors and to sit in certain seats in the pulpit and certain positions in the church, thereby preventing them from being in their highest priesthood, if you will, right? There are people who you go to their church and feel unwelcome for a variety of reasons. I'm just trying to understand how we just became the greatest judge of every kind of woman's anything. Because again, going back to the issue of Muslim women, they say you're being made to wear the hijab. So that the man is making you do this. That's a problem. I'm confused. I really am. I want to know, where is the rules? Where are the rules? So when I could get the rules, then I can look at the rules and then decide what I might or may not be able to do. And I agree with you 100%, 100% that every church and every pastor and every congregation and every choir and every Bible study and every anything is not for everybody. That's why you never see me upset when a pastor is asking for money a certain way, and then it gets it goes viral somehow, and everybody's jumping up and down about it, because I have been one in the church and in organizations where people raise money all the time, and there's a style that some folks have for the congregation that they represent. There's
That's
some
that.
people. That's why you almost always see that the person who was the direct um person being engaged, like the lady who they told them, this ain't your line. You if
Yeah.
you got if I said, and I might be wrong about the numbers, but if I say this line is for the $1,000 people, and you get in the line with 500, 600, I don't know the numbers, but it's not $1,000. Either you
Hmm.
wait till your time is called or get in this line over here. Now, there's some people who will be like, oh, but that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be. And most of the people who have something to say don't tithe to nothing at all, period. They don't donate, they don't tithe, they don't do anything. When you have a tithing mentality, you are not as disturbed by being told, this ain't your line. This is not your line. You done came up here in the wrong line at the wrong time. And that's why most of those people are not upset. It's somebody else that took it and shared it, or they was all worked up about it. And that's how we get to the place where we are. So with that being said, I'm trying to figure out, where's the rules. Number one, I'm not even going to talk about $2 hole, because you could say whatever you want. You could say you didn't feel that Karri Bryant should have won that dress. If that's your opinion, have your opinion, right? But the one thing you cannot say is that she was presented as the $2 hoe, because she looked like a beautiful, well put together, amazing woman, and that's who she is. Now, you might say that amazingness isn't something that you feel the first lady should be, but you're not going to say that she looked like any of that. I just don't agree. So again, we all going to have our opinion, and the church is going to be packed with people who want that type of first lady. They want a versatile first lady, that they could see her out on a nice night and a date night, going to an event, and she can be cute and doing her thing and even sexy. Then they could see her over here and she's fully dressed. They could see her over there and she got her AKA uniform on, her paraphernalia. They could see her in different. That's Some people are attracted to that.
And
So
that's why they
anyway,
go to the church. Yeah, that's why they go
that's
to
why
that
they go
church.
to the church. Yes, yes,
And
yes,
and if
yes.
it's not for you, then go to another church. It's not hard. Like, it's everybody, everything is not for everybody. I tell people all
It's
the
not.
time, it's like social media. You go on your page and the people on there that hate you to death, that's on there every day. This ain't the page for you. It's another page that all the shit that you talking about, they got it there. Why you come here mad at every post that I post? This is not your ministry. This ain't your ministry. You gotta go somewhere
I don't
else,
know.
because it ain't for me. And that's what I'm saying. We have got so caught up in worrying about other people's business and other people's way of life and the way other people
Yeah,
think. And it's just too much. I don't care. I really do not care about the way that you live your life, because it's
yeah.
not going to change anything about my life. If you're
And
not in my direct circle.
somebody said, sorry to cut you off, but somebody said, The reason why, because I wrote a Facebook post about how these folks are way more concerned about this dress than they are the issues that we're really, really up against. And somebody said that's because of the stuff y'all got going on in y'all own lives. You don't, you want to excuse other things so you can excuse the things y'all got going on in y'all lives. And the way that they said it was like they was trying to embarrass me and others who were in the comment section saying, I'm with you, I agree with you, Tamika, this conversation is ridiculous or whatever. Not even whether they agreed with the dress or not, but the whole point that most folks were making is like, this is a distraction, like a complete distraction that we don't care about. And the person said, no, we do care about it. We need to talk about it. And the reason why y'all don't want to deal with it is because of your own lives and how y'all got stuff going on in your own lives. And you just, so therefore you want to excuse this. And they, and again, they were trying to make it like I'm saying something slick that's going to embarrass you. And guess what? I said, you are 100% right. I mean, you ain't never said anything more true because of the fact that in my own life, I wear sometimes sexy, sometimes this, sometimes that. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm not. I have all kinds of things going on in my world. And that makes it that when somebody wears a dress, I don't even have time to address that because I'm more so forward thinking on what are the things that impact us as a whole. And I promise you that that dress will not do it. I promise you it won't. I don't care how holy you try to make the topic that, oh, but it's the destruction of the people cut the health insurance and the dress had nothing to do with it. The premiums are up on the health insurance, on health coverage. That has nothing to do with Karri Bryant's dress. The folks is being disappeared off the streets. The ICE agents is running around here disappearing people off the streets. That has nothing to do with Karri Bryant's dress. Okay, education in our country is a disaster. Nothing to do with Karri Bryant's dress. What else you want? Food is high as shit. People can't even afford to get Carrie Bryant's dress has nothing to do with that. Nor does my son's story or Johnny's thing he got going on. It doesn't, it's not relevant in your world. It's just not. So, it is what it is, but it just further gives me anxiety that we're not ready. We're not ready because where we are sitting, it doesn't mean you don't have an opinion. But when your opinion becomes a 15-page or a 15 slide video, a thought piece, and you ain't got no thought pieces out here about how we going to deal with all the issues, I don't know, 300,000 Black women, more than that. The number is more than that. In fact, people only saying 300,000, but the last uh, Labor Bureau number said 800,000 Black women have been pushed out of the workforce from January. And I know it's true. I know it's true. And it probably is more than that. But Carrie Bryant's dress got him fired.
Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you this, man. It's a lady in the church that got full dress, ain't no skin tone dress. She got the grandma dress, and she done had sex with about 30, 40 people in the church. Carrie Bryant got the dress.
Ain't nobody having no sex with no 30, 40 people in
Shit,
no church. Oh,
shit.
please. What are you talking
Listen to
about?
me. Listen to me.
It don't even
I'm
be 30 to
listen to
40 eligible
listen,
bachelors or
and
whatever,
that's
or
what I'm trying to tell you.
married bachelor. It
They
just,
ain't got to be eligible. I'm
oh,
telling you,
please.
I
Good
know
night.
church girls that are fully dressed with the long dress down to the knees. They're outside doing whatever they got to do with numerous people. That woman got a husband and she had a dress on and she a respectable lady, man. Y'all need to focus on the things, the business that pays you.
Yeah, focus on things that pay you. Anyway, let's go to your I don't get it. I guess, it's so much stuff not to get.
Oh no,
I
this
need a I don't get it segment. Shit.
This I don't get it. It's kind of, I've been thinking about it. I was thinking about New Year's, just thinking about hip hop. I came into this game in hip hop, loved the creativity of hip hop. I watched it more if I went from Rakim, Cool G Rap, EPMD, Big Daddy Kane. Like these are people that I watched growing up in the 80s, and I loved the ciphers in the park and, you know, being able to lyrically come up with things that nobody else could think of. And I watched it morph into the 90s, and then we had, you know, Nas, and we had Pac, and we had Jay-Z, and we had, Mobb Deep, and it was X-Clan. I mean, we had so many, we had Public, and we just, hip hop went through so many different phases, and we watched it, right? And it was good, there was bad, there was always positive and negative, like, right? There was some violence in it here and there. There was people who had beefs because that's what happens. Competition comes some level of beefs, and we dealt with that, right? But it was always centered around the music. It was always centered around somebody speaking from a perspective, somebody who actually engaged in certain lifestyles or come from certain communities and cultures that brought their perspective to it. Right? And you listen to it and you identified with it because they had a perspective. Even the people who were analysts about hip hop, they came from hip hop. You watch Fab Five Freddy and you seen DJ Red Alert, like real DJs who had real perspective that used to carry crates and sit, and they gave you, Cool Herc. All of them talked about the essence of hip hop and growing up inside of that essence of hip hop. And I don't get it is, how did we allow people who don't have any hip hop credentials or anything to co-opt hip hop? How the fuck in the world did we let DJ Akademiks? No, for real though. But I'm serious. How the fuck did we let DJ Akademiks, Adam 22, and fucking Aiden Ross co-opt hip hop? How do we let some people who have no connection to this culture come in, and not only did they co-opt hip hop, they veered it away from what it was originally doing, right? Hip hop was about us expressing what come from our communities. It was a way out of our communities. It was a way to move past the streets, to grow. You let somebody like Akademiks, who has no connection to hip hop, no connection to the street, no connection to anything, come in here and co-op, right? I realized there was a time, that beef was a marketing tool for the music, right? That people were engaged. They see, these people are beefing with each other, but it was musically inclined. People would go back and forth. Sometimes it might get some levels of violence that, God bless the dead, Tupac and Biggie. We watched how that thing, just grew into something that was bigger than them. But we realized that we started to make changes in that situation. But what these people started to do, like DJ Akademiks, is they utilize music to market beef, right? It went from beef marketing music to music marketing beef. So they no longer cared about talent. They no longer cared about real skill. They wanted to hear the beef, and they wanted to see the beef, and they wanted to see the video of somebody smoking on a dead person, and somebody shot this one, and this and that. And that started to supersede actually making music. How do we let people like Akademiks change our whole culture into that? And then be the voice of what's hot. People like him who have no knowledge, don't have no credibility, don't have no resume of nothing, came into this game, took co-op beef and turned it into a genre of music. And not only did he do that, he capitalized, and we watch numerous beefs, people dying, going to jail based off things that he promoted. And he made millions of dollars sitting in that damn basement, disrespecting people, calling all type of violence to the table, still doing it. And then we let him dictate to us who was hot. And what happened to me, what hurt me, is that people who were, I believe, grew up in this culture, who were really actually people that I respect in this culture, co-signed that shit. They sat next to him, they brought him on platforms, they talked about it, and they let him become bigger than the music. He was able to dictate what's hot in this culture. Somebody like him who has no credibility on no platform anywhere outside of that basement is able to dictate who is what inside of music and get rich off of doing it and killing us at the same time. For the first time in probably 20 or something years, hip hop was not in the top 20 nowhere in on the boards because people like him co-opted. And then you got Adam 22, who goes around, a white dude just running around promoting beef, sitting in another room with black dudes that's gang members, and he promoting beef and all types of dumb shit, promoting the most dumbest shit possible, and they're able to make $1 million of streaming, and we just let them co-op hip hop. Let them co-op hip hop. Now you got this dude Aiden Ross who's disrespecting Doshi. Shout out to my brother Glasses Malone who called him out on that.
Mm.
You know, it's really sad that people who actually say they from hip hop are silent as we watch these vultures, culture vultures, just co-op this. And not only they did co-op, if they was moving it in a upward trajectory, if we seen it going forward and it was growing, hip hop is pretty much dying. Like it's become just this one little area of music now. It's not even growing no more. They have stifled the growth of hip hop because you gave these people the reins to be able to dictate who and what is hot. And I just can't believe that we've got people who I thought understood this culture who have allowed this shit to happen. I've been calling this out for the last 5 to 6 years, and and people just don't say, "Oh, you hating, how you mad at a blogger?" No, I'm not mad at a blogger. I'm mad at y'all because y'all allowed this cornball to dictate what hip hop is and co-op and make millions of dollars and call you stupid and tell people they not hot if they not making beef. You're telling 21 Savage, oh, nobody want to hear you make positive songs. We want to hear you sliding on people. Telling people that got beef, that real people have lost their life, yo, why you ain't slide? Yo, why you ain't do this? Or you ain't really tough. Like, this is what y'all allowed hip-hop to become. And these are the people that when you look and they say the most powerful people in hip-hop music, when you see DJ Akademiks is one of the most powerful people.
Who says that? I don't think.
No, what I'm trying to tell you, no. I'm telling you, when you look at the list, when they come out with these lists, and they
the
say
lists are trash.
But I'm just saying the fact that somebody has exalted somebody who is this bottom feeding, who is this low vibrational, who adds nothing to the culture, that has added zero to this culture, has done nothing but extract from this culture. The fact that he can be put in those positions to where they say he's one of the most important and powerful voices in hip hop is just crazy to me. And it's crazy that people sat by and let this happen. Well, they watch this drunk man sit up there talking to children about who they having sex with, talking about shit that don't make no sense, just drunk in his basement, and y'all telling us that this is what hip hop looks like. These are the people who are the voices of hip hop. These are the powerful people in hip hop. I just do not get how y'all let them people co-op our movement. I don't get how Aiden Ross is able to sit in rooms and talk about a genre that I've never seen him do anything for. And these people
Is
have
Aiden
added.
Ross black?
No.
He's a white guy?
Yes, him and Adam 22. These people have
Adam
co-op.
22. Yeah, I'm not as up on the information as you, but they got it's a lawsuit that the federal I think the feds have a lawsuit against some people about something that got to do with them names. All the people you was just saying.
Him and Drake got because they saying that he once again Drake, was able to allegedly they say he was paying Aiden Ross, through these streaming networks to be able to manipulate the numbers in his streams and in his music because that's what happened. We gave the reins to these people who don't do nothing else
but
but
what about
extract.
pay to play? But what about payola? Because it seems to me that particular system of paying the whoever to get your
Paying the
music out
DJ.
has been going on a long time. That's not a new
No,
thing. So
it's not a new thing, but it's always been illegal, right? So when you was caught doing it, it was illegal. But the thing is, for me, is you're not even somebody who is of this culture who has the credentials. Like a lot of these DJs that was getting paid to play, a lot of these DJs came from the bottom. They was in they was in the parks. They was DJing. They built up their following. They really showed people they love the music, this and that. And some of them might have said, "Yo, I need a couple of dollars," but they felt like I've done the work. Like now my voice is strong enough because I've literally done the work inside this this arena. And now when you want me to play your record or break a record, I need to play. I don't agree with that, but I understand it. But when somebody has done nothing for the culture, who just come and is able to manipulate numbers and this and that to have people feel like we need to listen to them, and now you paying them to completely veer the culture away from what music actually is, the sound of music, the culture of music, the feel of music, to where now you diminish our music so much that it's not even valuable no more. Like most of these artists, they're not selling records no more because they have diminished the value of hip hop, right? They've diminished the people that they tried
But
to
we
make
wouldn't be able
stars.
to say that about but we wouldn't be able to say that about Drake's music because most of us
No,
like Drake's music. So
no. The thing is this: what they've done with Drake's music is they made it to where it became the only music you heard. So what happens is if you had artists that didn't sound like Drake and didn't make the same kind of music, then it felt like that wasn't being promoted no more. Because only music, when you go turn on the radio, if all you hear is a Drake song, right, then and only somebody that's with Drake song that's in a Drake camp, then what happens is other music is not even getting the same opportunities. They're not even getting the algorithm. And if you're not paying to play, and if you don't just happen to break through here and there, then what happens is you're an artist that's a good artist that people don't even know. I hear it's music going
so
on
this is the
every day.
accusation.
Yeah, this is what happens. You're paying for streams to manipulate streams. Because if you keep telling people, yo, he got 200 million streams in one day, people feel like that got to be the hottest song in the world. So now let me go to that. It's 200. My one stream ain't gonna hurt. So now what happens is you pushing the algorithm one way, and you making people believe that this is the sound of the universe, and people are going to follow a trend. So that's what they do. That's what they do with
So
music. Is
that's
they
what they accuse. That is the accusation.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying
It's-
that's what's been done in music. I'm not saying that that's happened with him per se, but that's exactly what they're accusing him. There's a RICO, you know, charge based on that, and it's sad, man. It's sad, and for me, like if somebody told me that Rakim was doing that, right? If somebody told me Big Daddy Kane was doing it, if somebody told me Nas or somebody was doing that, right? I wouldn't feel as bad because I'd be like, these people put so much work in. They've been in hip hop for 30, 40 years. You know, they deserve to be able to figure out some shit. But somebody who hasn't done anything for this culture but extract is able to make billions and multi hundreds of millions while our forefathers of the culture are starving. Shout out to Nas for trying to put together a fund to where they actually have health care, where they actually are able to receive retirement funds because nobody cares about hip hop. And these people created hip hop and they haven't made nowhere near what these people who have done nothing for the culture have. So,
well, you know
I'm
what?
just,
Here's what I will say about that. We have no one to blame except ourselves because while and I understand that the culture definitely, or not the culture, but that society absolutely is intentionally dumbing us down. But we spend so much time buying cars and having fabulous things and wanting to take the trips and the showman stuff for pictures and magazines up to social media that we miss the opportunity to build that not just in hip hop, but in many different spaces. That the people who were in these high level positions who had the resources and the access at the time were not having those conversations. So, to your point, Nas is doing the grown man thing now of understanding his power and he's using it, but we should have been doing that. And we
but
better
you
do.
can't know, but you can't do what you don't know, Tamika. Nobody, we weren't, most of the pioneers of
I'm
hip
not,
hop
but
were
listen,
not financially educated.
but
They thought that, okay.
I'm not talking about artists. I'm not talking about artists. I'm talking about executives who did understand the importance of health insurance and retirement and all of that because they themselves focused on it for their own families. But they did not see the need to build that as Black executives in the industry. And some of them we know and love, right?
Yeah,
But that wasn't the focus. The focus was on buying a house and a
yeah, but
car.
that's most of them, Tamika. Most of the executives, is not really executives no more. Most of the executives that pioneered hip hop,
Now,
a lot exactly because they weren't financially literate. They didn't. They lost a lot of them lost they dynasties. They lost money. They lost billions and millions of dollars. They got cut out of a lot of these deals, and they had to come back and restructure and say, "Wow, we didn't even realize we were supposed to be doing this. We didn't." Now what happened is because there were people who were financially literate that were saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna give you $50 million for your deal, and we're gonna buy this and that, and you good. You go get a deal." And they be like, "Oh, I got $50 million. I'm gonna go do this about," because nobody was telling them, "Listen, bro, what you need to do is make sure that you take out this loan, get this house, buy this property, make sure you invest in healthcare." Nobody was telling these people that even the execs, they had to grow. And right now, that's why when you listen to a lot of the black execs right now, and the conversations that they're having about black wealth, about creating, these avenues, is different because they learned something different. So we were being preyed upon. I remember most of the people that was getting deals, you was getting $1 million deal, you thought you had $1 million. It wasn't no $1 million. They was giving you about 100,000. They was taking your royalties. They was charging you for the studio. They was charging you every time you drove around in the car. They was charging you for everything. And then you come back after you put out an album, you done sold 2 and 3 million, and you don't got a dime. And you thinking, wow, where's the money? Oh, we had to recoup this, and they showing you all this. And you like, what do you mean you had to recoup this? I ain't got no help. I ain't got nothing. Where's this for my kid? What happened to my publishing? You said co-publishing. I'm supposed to get this year co-publishing, and they getting like you didn't know nothing. And it wasn't that you was dumb; it's that you believed in a
I'm not
system.
saying
And
that.
I'm
I'm
just
not
saying,
saying that people are dumb.
no, I'm just saying, but I'm just trying to say a lot of us were bamboozled. We did not understand finances. We did not understand, capitalism. We did not really get it. So a lot of people were played, and when they figured it out, they said, "Oh, okay, we're gonna do this way now. Okay, now I see what you're doing. Oh yeah." When Master P and them start selling things out their trunk, and they saying, "Yo, you don't need to get no record deal. And you can sell once you build your own thing. You get your own thing out the trunk." Now they start doing joint ventures because now I'm not signing you for no 7 album. I'm assigned to you as a partner. Now we get a partnership. You're gonna give me some upfront money because now we got a partnership and we're gonna split everything down the middle. And then they got to the
Well,
point where
I bet you, if you go back and you look at, um, if you go back and you look at history, I can promise you, for everything that I've loved inside my heart, that if you go back and look at history, you can find where somebody was trying to get us to listen to that, and people was like, "Ugh, whatever." Same, because I see it here in our spaces, right?
Mhm.
In the activist community, in the civil rights world, social justice, people are like, let's all focus on building and buying and investing or whatever. And the majority of folks are like, I don't want to hear that. We just hustling every day. And I'm saying that I've been on both sides. So I get it. I've been the person who's like, I hear you, but I can't focus on that. And I've been the person trying to push us to do something and watching people ignore. So I'm just saying we have to be a lot smarter about, not just in hip hop. I'm taking this conversation in a bigger, in a broader perspective. We got to be a lot smarter about listening to the smart people in our community, the ones that have the crazy ideas that no one ever really wants to take the time to focus on. And we've got to be a lot smarter about realizing that it hasn't been designed for us. And therefore, the only way, it's like we're ending the show at the same place that we started. They're not going to give us anything. They're not going to give us information or help us in any way. We've got to go seek it out and share it with one another. But if we're so caught up in Dressgate, which is purely a metaphor, but if we're so caught up in Dressgate and less engaged in discussions about how we're going to like progress and protect one another, then we're never going to get there. And so hopefully, and by the way, I have to remind myself that there are many people who are in the mind frame of building, and we really have to find that community and lock in and move the ball forward. So I agree with you. It's a good thing what Nas is doing, and he probably needs some support, and you should find out how you can help him.
I would love to, man. Shout out to Nas. And shout out to all of the pioneers of hip hop. Shout out to those who created this avenue in this culture. You know, it gets a lot of flack. I hear people say, "Oh, hip hop done so much damage to us and this and that." And we have to acknowledge that definitely there was, promotions of violence and people benefited off of that. And a lot of us didn't know. Like, we thought being gangster and rapping gangster and talking about where we was from, we didn't know we were motivating a lot of our youth into that violent culture. We thought that we were being voices of the people. And when you realize that you've done harm, then you have to acknowledge that you've done harm. But hip hop has done a lot for us. There are a lot of people and generations of people that won't live in poverty, and people who have opportunities to create systems like Nas is doing right now. There's people like, Meek Mills with the reform. Like there are avenues that hip hop created that are
Mm-hmm.
going to create change inside of our culture and our communities that would never have been here without hip hop. So I love hip hop, and I will hold hip hop accountable for the negative things that it's done, but I also will celebrate it for the positivity that it's given us.
Absolutely. We love hip hop. We are hip hop. All right.
That's right.
Well, it was a good show. A lot of good information today. You know, I feel like I think 2026 is going to be a good year. That's just the way I feel. And I know we got a lot of fights, but I think that we're going to end up uniting with our people, like the people who are going to fight together. And that for me, because you're gonna fight one way or the other. So I rather fight with the people who are all kind of on the same page. And so I feel like we're in a space where folks know it's time to strap them boots up and let's go.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've seen the hand of the enemy. We realize no one is not clear. Even people that say, "Oh well, it's not that. It's not." At this point, people know exactly where we are, and we're gonna just have to we're gonna have to come together with our tribe and do what we're
Yep.
supposed to do. And with that said, we come to the end of another episode of TMI. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at TMI_show, and then on YouTube, TMI Show PC. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory is not going to always be wrong. But for 2026, we promise you
Mhm.
we will always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Salute.
That's how we are.